I know it's not a word up here. What's metaphor?
A simile without like or as.
Well, it can't be a simile if you take comparison is the word that you end up going with. A lot of times people will say metaphor ends up being a direct comparison because you're simply saying that that person, or that object is something as opposed to acting like it. For our purposes, extended metaphor is essentially going to be when the entire poem is a singular / controlling metaphor. So the whole poem is about one metaphor, as opposed to having an example of one metaphor or a line that's going to be a metaphor. The entire poem is meant to be metaphorical. Technically, it could also be what's called a long simile. Is like the same thing as saying an extended metaphor. So if you had a poem that was all about one big, large, significant simile, you could argue that that's also kind of like extended metaphor. But extended metaphor within poetry, meaning the entire poem, is all devoted to what that one metaphor is. Personification. I think this one we know.
Giving a non-human human.
That's when you exaggerate something.
No, that's the one down at the bottom. So giving non-human objects human-like qualities. So if you were to go to the beach, people would talk about, the waves were jumping up and down. If you are taking a walk through the woods on a fall day and there's a light breeze, the leaves were could be whispering, dancing, flying around, could be something, but you're giving them human-like qualities. Entire poem is a singular or controlling metaphor, and then giving non-human objects human-like qualities. Some people argue that if you give an animal human-like qualities, that's personification as well. Some people argue that that's not a form of personification. I don't worry about it. So if you give an animal human-like qualities, I'm not going to go, well, that doesn't count. There's a technical term. It's called anthropomorphism. Is giving animals human-like qualities. We're not going to have that showing up as like term number 21 on your literary term. Anthropomorphism. I can spell that one. Anthropomorphism?
I can spell it. You said
Morphism. Anthro. ANTHROMORPHISM. Yep. Logan, what do you think end rhyme is? Sort of. Of?
lines.
Words rhyming at the end of multiple lines of poetry. So you have words rhyming at the end of multiple lines. So if you were reading a Dr. Seuss book, if I ran the zoo, said young Gerald McGrew, I'd make a few changes. That's just what I would do. Those would be examples of end. No, story time.
What's wrapping right?
I'd open each gate, unlock every pen, animals go, and start over again. Again. A 4-footed lion isn't much of a beast. The one in my zoo would have 10 feet at least.
Why do you have Dr. Seuss memorized?
Why wouldn't you?
Why not?
Let's have a
Sleep book is the best. That puts kids out in 2 seconds. Now, when it does come to end rhyme, it's not necessarily have to be this way, but more often than not, you do tend to have a pattern to your end rhyme. So, and this is not part of the quiz, but this would be stuff that we kind of get into later. If we were to say that I'm going to write an A poem, that means every single line is going to have the same rhyming sound. If we were going to write a poem that is A, B, that means our first line would rhyme with our third line, and then our second line would rhyme with our fourth line. So you can certainly have different rhyme schemes. There's not one that's considered better than the other. You can have an alternating. Sometimes people will do couplets where you have 2 lines rhyming, and so you keep going in ways like this. But if you were to identify a rhyme scheme, that's when we have these letters that would kind of pop up. You're not going to say, I'm going to write an A, B, C, D, E, F, G poem where none of the lines rhyme. That's not going to be considered to have a rhyme scheme because there's not a pattern to it. Now you have like 2 random lines end up kind of rhyming. I think more often than not, people probably go with that alternating or with that little kind of couplet thing that you have going. But it doesn't matter which way you do it. So if you have end rhyme, you have words rhyming at the end of multiple lines of poetry. If you have internal rhyme, this is when you are going to have multiple words rhyming within one line of poetry. So within one line, you're going to have at least 2. Some would argue it has to be 3, but multiple would be 2 or more. 2 plus words that are going to rhyme within the same line. If you were going to do a poem with internal rhyme, that does not mean that every single line has to have internal rhyme, but at some point within your poem, you would have a line where 2 or more words rhyme together. Which of my words, Josh, didn't you like rhyming? Again and pen. Again and pen would not be considered exact rhyme. So exact rhyme, another phrase that gets used with it is going to be true rhyme. Doesn't necessarily mean they have to be spelled the same way. But the exact rhyme is going to be when words have the exact same rhyming sound. So when you were learning rhyming words in elementary school, you know, cat, mat, hat, those would all certainly be exact rhyme. Again, pen, you could argue that that's not going to be an exact rhyme. Name, fame would certainly be exact rhyme. Blame, yeah. Logan and slogan would be an exact rhyme.
Chill.
Approximate rhyme, slant rhyme. This would be when you have words that do not truly rhyme. So words do not truly rhyme, but they are close enough to be considered rhyming words. So they are similar in sound.
But they are.
But it is not a true rhyme. I think if you were to take a look at N and M words, that's a common thing that'll get used as an approximate rhyme that doesn't truly necessarily rhyme.
It's like what?
Like say name and pain, they do not rhyme, but because you have that long A and a similar consonant sound, it can be close enough that you can consider to get like a rhyming sound to it. So a lot of like, talking about music and whatnot, I think if you take a look at a lot of the rhyming words that get used within most songs, they're probably more along the lines of being a slant rhyme or an approximate rhyme, because in some ways it's more impressive if you can take words that don't truly rhyme, and maybe it depends upon the way that you say the word or the way that you pronounce it, so you can still kind of get that rhyming effect for it. Now, you could argue that is the word Jack going to rhyme with poetry? No, that's not going to be a slant rhyme that you're going to be able to pull off. That's a true rhyme. Now, that's also internal rhyme. When it's all within that one. Nate the Great, that's a masculine rhyme. Nate and great would be masculine. Logan and slogan is a feminine rhyme. It's okay. Masculine rhyme, simple. Feminine rhyme, sophisticated. Complex. Masculine rhyme is also referred to as being a simple rhyme. All this means doesn't mean that the words, listen up, doesn't mean that the words have to only be one syllable, but it means that only one syllable in the words themselves rhyme. So only one syllable rhymes in each word. Where if you're looking at feminine rhyme, and again, feminine rhyme is looked at as being more complex, more sophisticated. This is the one that you want to be able to try to do, again, if you're going more on a professional basis, where you have multiple syllables rhyme with each word. So, multiple syllables.
Move it up a little bit, please.
Yeah, let me write this and then we'll... Bring it down a little bit or go up higher?
No, it's fine. I just wanted to see.
Right there? So cat, hat, Jack, stack, Nate, great, all simple. But if you get multiple syllables, that's where you're going to get a feminine rhyme. Orange and door hinge. That would be a approximate feminine rhyme.
So I can call you Tom. No, I'm you Tom. I could just call you. Okay.
Hysteria.
What is that? Malaria. And malaria.
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 Or malaria.
Bavaria.
So these would be examples of a feminine rhyme because you're getting multiple things going here that are going to be rhyming. Where you get into a little bit of an issue is if you were to take, say you have two verbs that rhyme, walk and talk, okay? They would rhyme. If you were to say walking, talking, that's a pretty cheap feminine rhyme that you would be using because you're just adding an ing or like an ly or something like that to it. But people will still certainly use it because you get the idea of having multiple syllables kind of sounding similar. The more syllables you can get to rhyme, generally the more impressive it gets to be considered to an audience. Well, and what will happen a lot of times is even like if say you have two words that don't really rhyme, that you add an ed or an ing, not that you would want to do it every single time, but you can kind of force in a rhyme that way with it. And again, the way that you enunciate, the way that you pronounce the word, you know, even something like how we were talking about like fire, higher, how many syllables is it? You can manipulate the number of syllables to try to get a little bit more rhyme that you would want to.
Whoa.
So, complex, multiple syllables, mask and rhyme, just going to be one syllable. When it comes to alliteration, we're not talking about rhyming anymore, but we're still dealing with a repetition of sounds. This is going to be repetition of a consonant letter at the beginning of multiple words. So, repetition of a consonant sound. Not necessarily letter, but repetition of consonant sound at the beginning of multiple words in a single line of poetry. And when we say multiple words, it means words that are going to have significance. So you usually wouldn't use was and were as being examples of alliteration because they're not considered to be significant terms. Again, with alliteration, it would mean like two or more. I think usually people try to get at least 3 words going, but you're still repeating that consonant sound. So for example, like an F and a PH sound, or a C and a K sound, even though it's not the same letter, you could still certainly have that same sound repeating itself. If you had a PHF sounding word, phrase, followed by purple, you wouldn't go, hey, that's alliteration, because both start with the same letter, because they don't have the same sound. I don't think that's going to be showing up on the spelling bee. Onomatopoeia? It's like comic book sounds, words. So words.
How? Wow.
So, pow, smack, buzz. What you have is the sound that the word makes is supposed to replicate the meaning of the word. So the sound of the word replicates the meaning. So when you say a bee buzzes, what do you mean? I mean the sound that a bee makes is that it buzzes. So the sound of the word replicates the meaning. Sound of the word replicates the meaning of the word. Sound of the word replicates the meaning of the word. And then hyperbole. Hyperbole, exaggeration. So exaggeration for emphasis or effect. So you exaggerate something for emphasis or an effect. Unless you really did.
By 10.
That's just an
That's a lot.
You lost by a lot.
Most common, like kind of hyperbole. Backpack weighs a ton. I have 1 million hours of homework to do, something along those lines. It's not going to be million, but it's exaggerated. All right, on a, so this sheet, keep in your notebook. Clean sheet of paper, clean sheet of paper. There's like 13 minutes left. That's a lot closer than 5.
Whoever made it look cool made it backwards. Seriously. No, like it is made backwards. No. Whoever made
Not a word for tomorrow's definitions, but certainly a word that we're still familiar with in a world that really gets used a lot within poetry, imagery. When we talk about imagery, what do we mean?
You picture it in your head.
Okay, so you picture things. So it's something that you can see, and I would say that's the one that we go with more often than not. Technically, though, imagery isn't just what you see, but it also could be what you smell,
Feel.
taste, touch, and then also hear. So as what was getting mentioned over here, they are sensory words. And so a lot of times poems try to focus on these senses. Yes, sight's probably the most common one, but also you can get a pretty significant impact if you're able to bring in other senses as well. So here's what we're going to do, not right now like for today homework assignment, but we're going to kind of start working on sensory poems.
Can we do haiku?
Not yet.
I wrote one in like 6th grade. I'm pretty sure I wrote one in 6th grade. I remember it being way harder.
Think of a place.
I remember hating it.
Place or event. Jot down 5 places or events. So what do we mean by event? Could be birthday. Could be last day of school, first day of summer.
How many?
Place, 5. 5 places or events. Place could be home, bedroom, grandma's house. Tommy, you're writing. And turning in research papers.
Oh. We all know that's like
Gentlemen. So place or event. Yeah, get 5. And you're not held to these 5 and that you're going to be writing 5 poems about them, just thinking about them. You don't need to write.
South Africa.
Hey, be nice.
Place an event that you know and that you are familiar with.
Oh, I'm not that familiar with that.
Josh, you're writing it down.
Non-existent. Can we go back in time?
Sure.
What's up with you today?
All right, Gavin, what's the place or an event?
Giant eagle.
Connor, which one?
South Africa.
Have you been there?
You didn't say we needed to be there.
Somewhere that you know.
Pizza.
Oh, I got
Do we even have any Pizza Huts anymore?
I don't know.
No.
Yes, Bellevue.
Bellevue?
No,
Maddie? Myrtle Beach? I'm going to go beach.
I have one. My basement.
What about it?
It's a place.
What are we talking, like game room? Or is this like next to the water
It's just
heater?
a basement.
Tommy's sitting in his unfinished basement, sitting down.
Julian?
Basement.
Woods?
Yeah, it's
Place I spend most of my time.
do a face on it, name it Wilson.
Any others? Alright, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go with beach.
Okay. Beach.
So we're all gonna do beach for this one, okay? I don't know much about Tommy's basement, so I don't feel appropriate for this one. What are, and you can just start kind of making your list. I want you to write down see, hear, taste, touch. What am I
What
missing?
did you taste at the beach?
Hold on.
Salt water?
Smell.
Oh, I'm dehydrated.
Touch the sand. Smell
What are three things? What are three things? Hold on. What are three things that you would see? What are three things that you would hear? What are three things that you taste, touch, and then smell? Here's the thing though, you can't double dip in the sense that you can't go, I see salt water, I smell salt water, I taste salt water. You would have to pick one of those that you would want to go with. So it doesn't matter which one you do, but you don't want to keep overusing them over and over again. Write down at least three things that you would see, hear, taste, touch, smell. You can certainly think about, like, when you go to the beach or any kind of vacation spot, if there's something that you normally take with you, like every time you go to the beach, you always have like Gatorade or whatnot. That could be something that you taste. Or when you go, you always take, you know, sand castle toys or something. That could be something that you see. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to be nature that you're looking at. That could be a question. You can be concrete, or you can be abstract. So concrete is going to be things that you actually would see that are more tangible. Abstract, meaning not something that you would necessarily physically see, but maybe it's an abstract idea that you can kind of see that is occurring, or taste, or touch.
What do you drink at the beach? I
Water.
hardly ever have anything.
Sand.
You
Oh,
drink sand.
alright.
Dude, the video of that guy when he literally
Oh, that's what you drink.
You eat sand.
It's like,
Who else is everybody think I really big wave?
That's a blunt.
That was a plan.
Face planted in sand.
I don't know what this
Anybody
means.
else know? Just me? I got sand up.
Taste is probably the toughest.
Huh?
Taste is probably the toughest.
Oh, wait. Touch is easy. I got two for touch, I don't got the third one.
body.
Really deep on it. And I was walking, like, I wanted to do one where I could walk, and I was walking back out with every wave, it smacked me. Like the wave was taller than I was. I had my head down. And I ended up going face first in the
Alright,
ground.
so-
I can say.
Body.
Sunscreen. Grandma, your grandma's the last person to think of coming to save you.
Before we forget, and we'll start going over some of these things. Essays for research paper. I received 16, I believe. So there are some. If you need to check in with me after class, you can. If you want to confirm, did you get mine? If you did not submit, obviously you want to submit as soon as possible. Each day is 10%. So remember, it's 150 points, so that would be 15 points per day. So as long as it gets submitted sometime today, you get a 15-point deduction. If it gets submitted sometime tomorrow, you get a 30-point deduction. If you have questions about, again, did I submit or how do I go about it, make sure you check in with me and let
I
me
see
know.
your grandma being a short, tiny.
No, Dylan.
Wait,
This
so
is
yeah,
first
my-
time.
All right, now, still got some time. Amy, any of the 5, what would be one?
Wrinkled.
I saw this feet.
Touch sand. Okay.
See blends.
I've never seen a bleep.
Oh,
What kind of
never seen
bleep?
one?
No, you usually see like those
Y'all are crazy.
advertising.
Pretty good though.
Shh. Listen up. You want to be able to hear music? Here. Music.
I got one. Taste the salt water.
That's
I
what
told me.
Yeah,
Smell lotion.
Never seen
Fun fishing for a while. You see dolphins.
no.
Speed boat.
You hear those in
Boats.
all the things we call seagulls.
Hmm?
Sharks. You hear those in the things we call seagulls. You
Hey, listen up. Come on. Nate. Hands up.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant me.
Now him first, then yours. Shh, Logan. Seashells for touch. You said, Nate, sea dolphins?
Yeah.
Another smell, another taste. Or anything else.
Smell food.
I had
Waves for here.
Me too.
You smell gathering beach.
taste the sand.
Oh, we already touched the sand. Tyler?
Ice cream stand.
For taste.
I don't know where I call it.
You touch the water.
You also taste gas.
You taste. You taste gathering beach.
I said that you could.
Well, we have water up here with touch, though.
Ice cream. You can touch seaweed.
Ooh, gas.
Yeah, seaweed grows when from the
I said you could see the.
You can what?
Back by Travis Beach. Yeah, I've been attacked by crabs. Should we do a crab free mad?
What?
Hold
on.
Like 6 random guys.